Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. A reminder, we are streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and also airing live on Sportsnet 360, Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong, who is already tired of the Raptors. Game time decision for tonight's game?
Game time decision. Still not over yesterday's defeat. Do we have the NN hat here today? What's going on?
Yeah, you know what? Let's just tee it up. What happened? Why do we have it? Come on, set the scene, man.
We have the NN hat here today because earlier this year, when the Raptors lost the first time against the Detroit Pistons, gave up 127 points at home, I believe we put a ban on Nick Nurse on this program, and then they lost again in Detroit, and yesterday they completed the 3-game sweep. And now Dwayne Casey, since he joined the Pistons, is 9-3 against the Toronto Raptors. This is the third time in 4 years he has swept the Raptors, and I just don't get it.
Has your team won a game yet?
We're gonna. Oh man, Derek's coming in spicy today. Shouts to super producer Derek Brandale. But I mean, we're gonna get into all these Dwayne Casey stats and the curse and the game last night. But I was excited to come in here today. You know, wear my NN hat, real proud, because I spent the first half of this season trying to acquire the hat. Finally got it. Was really excited. I was waiting for today because we can officially end all this talk about the Dwayne curse. By the way, Dwayne was fired in 2018, okay? Yep. It's 2022 now, and somehow this is still a subplot, which, like, we get jokes off and stuff, but I don't know about you. Like, it's just not funny anymore. It's so frustrating. The Pistons were, 15 and 57 coming in yesterday?
Yeah, look, I disagree with you here because it's still funny to me.
It's not funny anymore, man.
All right, put the camera on me, okay? For people who are listening, Alex, you're just going to have to describe it.
Yeah, so we've got the NN hat in the studio.
We also have this.
Yeah, so Will has written DC, which I believe is the initials of Dwayne Casey.
All right.
And he's putting it over the NN hat right now, and he's going to wear it proud. I am personally retiring the NN hat until next season.
This is not as sticky as I anticipated, but yeah, there we go. It's a new edition. It's the new drop, actually. This is here, Alex. Put this on your head, man, because this doesn't fit mine.
No. I'm repping winning teams only. I'm repping the back-to-back World Series Blue Jays.
Man, I wasn't even born for this.
From 92, 93. I wasn't even in Canada yet either. But shouts to Dwayne Casey. I think this is what Isaiah Stewart walked out of the arena with yesterday. But listen.
Yo, the next time Dwayne comes to the game, he should actually have a Nick Nurse hat on.
Okay, here's the other thing, right? So we drafted villains earlier this week, and you selected Dwayne.
Yes.
And we were explaining that he was an accidental villain because anybody who knows Dwayne, now, first of all, Dwayne was instrumental in building the foundation of this franchise here during the We the North era. I know you don't want to hear it. You just want to talk about the playoffs. You always want to talk about him bringing in the lethal weapon, Tyler Hansbrough, for game 1 of the playoffs. But Dwayne was instrumental in establishing a culture here. Coach of the year, even though after he was let go.
Hey, Coach of the year in the year that Nick Nurse took over half the offense? Or the half the team, you mean?
Anyways, I'm going to continue to defend Dwayne. He's one of the best people.
Yeah, I agree.
This is what I always go to. Shouts to Malcolm Miller. But
you're saying he's the Malcolm Miller of coaches?
No, I didn't say that.
Come on, man.
He's one of the best people. And generally, I'm just trying to say, like, Dwayne, even last night, like, when he was asked before the game if he gets extra motivation playing Toronto, and he just says, I get excited whenever we win. And you know why he gets excited whenever he wins? Because the Pistons last year and this year combined so far have won 36 total games, and 6 of them have been against the Toronto Raptors.
Yep.
So once every 6 wins for Dwayne Casey, the last 2 seasons has been against the Raptors. 9-3, like we mentioned. Against the rest of the NBA during that stretch, he's 88 and 183. And you pointed this out to me. By the way, I can't take this guy seriously because he's wearing...
By the way, the hat is loosened as much as possible.
Yeah, okay? He looks like a Cadbury egg right now, but it's all good. But you mentioned this to me yesterday, too, that let's say all else being equal, if the Raptors swept the Pistons this season, which you could reasonably expect because the Raptors are a team with playoff aspirations and the Pistons are rebuilding, the Raptors would be 37-25 right now, and they would be a half game out of 4th in the East. More stats. The Raptors against the 3 teams who I consider to be the best teams in the East when it comes to championship aspirations, Miami, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee, 6-2 against them this year. But against the Pistons, they are 0-3. I also pulled up players who have been part of this 4-year streak.
This is a lot of research from you, man.
I know. I put in work twice a week. Blake Griffin, was part of the first win.
Mm.
Andre Drummond. Who else, man? Reggie Jackson. Jose Calderon.
Oh, who hit the game winner? Do you
Reggie,
remember?
I think it was Reggie Bullock. Was it
Reggie
Reggie Bullock?
Bullock, yeah,
Reggie
that's
Bullock
right.
hit
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Jose Calderon played 6 minutes the first time Dwayne returned. This is how long this has been. Wayne Ellington was part of Pistons.
Wayne
team last year.
Ellington, another all-time Gerald Henderson candidate, by the way.
Former and current Raptors have been part of this streak. Stanley Johnson.
That's right. He locked down Kawhi.
Yeah, they beat the Raptors. He did a bid in Tampa, and now he's with the Lakers. Svi was part of a victory during this streak. And there was another stat, too, that I got from Twitter, from user Kritika. The Pistons have only been up double digits after 3 quarters 4 times this season, and 2 of them have come against the Raptors. Yeah, that's
one of my favorite. By the way, let me add to this pile because the first time the Raptors lost to the Pistons this year, actually no, the second time. Sorry, that was the first time the Pistons had a 20-point lead at any point in any game all season. That was in the start of February or the end of January, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's half the season had gone by. They had never been up 20 at any point, except when they played the Raptors, they were up 20. And that was the game the Raptors made a big comeback, but they couldn't close it out, just like this game, which was entertaining. And looking back at the game, I was like, the Pistons did get a couple of things to drop at the end there, which were really fortunate. I thought the Bay shot was just insane, considering the fact that he split 2 defenders, kind of like put it underneath them and then kind of bounced it off the glass. It was gorgeous. But I don't know, he's consistent in making those Kyrie-style finishes. There was a loose ball that was tipped around like 5-6 times until Kelly Olynyk got it and got a mid-range jumper to fall. There was an air ball that went straight to Cade Cunningham under the basket, and he made it. There was a really tough one-on-one bucket from Bay driving against, I think, Boucher or Scotty or something like that, one-on-one, but got the shot up over the length of a taller player. So they got a couple of baskets to drop in overtime or in the fourth quarter. When
it felt like overtime, though. It was a playoff atmosphere.
No, it
in the
felt like
fourth
the triple
quarter.
overtime. It felt like the Miami Heat game. And look, listen, I know people are going to ask, like, why does this always happen? But I genuinely think Dwayne actually knows, like, Nick as well as any opponent in the league.
You had a really good example of this. A couple of plays in the third quarter, right?
Yeah.
Coming out of a timeout.
Yeah, so I can't seriously do this analysis with this hat on, but okay. It's not really on, by the way. It's just mostly floating on my head at this point. So Nick calls a timeout early in the third quarter because the Pistons go on a bit of a run against the Raptors starters, right? Coming out of that play, the Raptors try to draw something up. The Pistons go to a zone. Now, the Pistons didn't play zone for a lot of that game, right? Probably other possessions, but really it was just that one possession that stood out to me. When they went to that zone, they stopped whatever the Raptors were trying to get going. And I think Gary had to chuck up a long 2, just try to beat the shot clock. Didn't work. A few minutes later, Pistons call timeout because the Raptors had back-to-back scores, including one in transition. Dwayne Casey's like, at this point, I got like 7 timeouts. I haven't had to call one because my team's up the whole time. Let me just call a quick timeout.
They were losing in timeouts as well, man. They were losing in every category. Nick Nurse had to self-sacrifice himself to try to end the curse by getting tossed in the third. But yes, please go on.
Yeah, anyway. So Dwayne calls for timeout, and the Raptors try to do that thing to the Pistons where they came out in the zone defense. But there must have been miscommunication or something like that. But Isaiah Stewart set a screen on the left side of the floor, and I think Pascal was telling Kem Birch to get out to the perimeter, but he got screened, and then Pascal was like, okay, I guess your screen. I got to kind of close out. Isaiah Stewart's so like wide that he's able to screen both of them, and Cade Cunningham gets a wide open 3. So there's small things like that. I also think that they were really well prepared for the double teams and the trapping and the pressing, right? The Pistons are a young team. They only had, 9 turnovers as a team yesterday, right? And Cade Cunningham, despite getting double teamed a lot in the game, only had 1 turnover. I saw them really prepared for that full court press because the Raptors were really down after the first quarter. So Nick Nurse goes to the full court press. Immediately what do the Pistons do? Make 2 quick passes out of that press, and it's into the corner for Roddy Magruder, who's like, whatever. Like, but he's a capable NBA player, wide open in the corner, and his job is to shoot, and he makes the jumper. Like, there's small little things like that where I just felt like the Pistons had a really good plan for what the Raptors wanted to do. And I think on top of that is just like the Raptors didn't play as hard as the Pistons did until Nick got ejected. And I think that was one of the big turning points of the game. I also think, by the way, getting yourself ejected is a great way to get some calls. Because we were watching that game, the fourth quarter comeback, a lot of it, like I would say 50% of that fourth quarter comeback was free throws. Raptors got 16 free throws in the fourth quarter. I know I'm not happy with the officials too. I'm never happy with them, but let's also be real. The Raptors did get quite a few calls. Although that also comes when you play harder, right? So it's tough, But at least this is the last time the Raptors are going to play Detroit this season, which means we can.
But the thing is that even bothers me more because we don't get a chance to get redemption until next season. So we got to just sit here.
No, I don't want redemption. I just don't want to see this team ever again. The other thing that scares me about playing the Pistons is because either because of the physicality, because of how hard they play or whatever, it's just like there's also been a tendency for players to go down in Pistons games. I remember that first season where, the second season actually, where the Raptors actually beat Dwayne 3 times in that year.
Yeah, they lost a lot of guys in that one game in Detroit, I remember.
They lost Mark. They lost Pascal.
I think
they lost
got
Norm.
hurt too, yeah.
Like, all in the course of one season in that matchup, right? Early in this game, what do we see? Scotty Barnes hit his head.
Yeah, Pascal, too, was
after
down
getting
for a
knocked
bit.
hard by Isaiah. And then, you also have Pascal getting undercut by Kelly Olynyk on a rebound. Again, these are like innocuous plays, in my opinion. Like, these are not dirty plays. These are just like sort of the price of playing the sport. But at the same time, like, I don't know. It's the intensity of the game is to the point where I do worry about the health and the safety of some of the players. But yeah, it's a funny running meme. I don't know what else to say, really.
Yeah, it just needs to end. It's just like, like when Orlando comes in, like Orlando's coming in tonight. There's no storyline. Like
Nothing. Yeah.
It's just the Orlando Magic. When Sacramento comes in, it's just the Sacramento Kings. But for some reason, when the Detroit Pistons come in, we still have to have this storyline. But, to be continued next season. But you're right. I think specifically to last night's game, like the Raptors did not have 2 of their starters. Fred was out. OG was out. Thad Young was out too.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to have an interview of the century with him yesterday morning.
Okay.
But he had to go home because he had a non-COVID illness. Get well soon, Thaddeus Young. And that's part of the reason why the Raptors struggle. But like you mentioned, we talked about the effort on Monday as well when we did like the concern levels. What is it? Is it just this is a young team? Because you see the effort that they gave in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard maybe to kind of channel and have that energy over 48 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
But like clearly they are better than this team and they should be beating this team.
Yeah. But at the same time, I also think there's actual matchup issues. Like the Pistons have consistently had size in the middle. Now, I'm not saying that just having a big center or whatever is automatically going to win. And let's be real, we're not talking about like Jokic or Embiid or Cat in the middle, right? We're talking about Mason Plumlee and Isaiah Stewart, guys who just mostly muscle you around and make layups. But like when you look at the fourth quarter scoring for the Pistons, 2 of their 6 buckets in the fourth quarter was Isaiah Stewart out-muscling people at the rim and scoring layups. And you look at just like Mason Plumlee last year had a triple-double. I can't believe that. That's more disgusting to me than
I forgot about that.
Plumlee crossing up Ken Burch and dunking on his head this year. Yeah. Anyway, so it sucks, but I was totally expecting this result, which is probably why I'm not as upset about it. But it's tough. But also, as you mentioned, with the injuries, the Raptors really don't have much depth on the roster. And, I think especially the three-point shooting is just something that has been a concern all season to me. The Raptors didn't really address that at the trade deadline. Whatever, I'm sure they wanted to, but maybe they just couldn't get a deal done. But it's just been awful. I mean, just read off some of these post-All-Star break three-point shooting stats for me.
Yeah, so outside of the one three-point explosion they had in Brooklyn on Monday when they made 18 threes, against Charlotte, they were 6 of 23. Against Atlanta, they were 10 of 32. Brooklyn, on the second half of the back-to-back, they were 7 of 23. And last night, 7 of 26. And Gary Trent Jr. was 3 of 15 from 3 and 4 of 23. Overall, had a chance at the end of the game to potentially send it to overtime.
But drove in for 2 for some reason?
Took a 2. I pulled up Gary's stats too. Post All-Star break, he is shooting 29% from the field, 27% from 3 on 7.5 attempts per game. The scoring has come down to 14.2 points, and this is coming at a time when the Raptors need him the most, with Fred out and with OG out as well. But yeah, the overall three-point shooting, I don't know if you have anything more to add to that. I feel like we've talked about it, right? Like the Raptors just don't have shooters on this roster.
They have 2 shooters, Gary and Fred. OG is a catch-and-shoot guy, and that's it for the whole team. Like, other guys can give you occasional threes. Like, shout out Precious Achiuwa, fourth quarter three-point specialist.
Yeah. Fate of the universe.
Marshall's got the death beam.
You're taking Precious?
I want Precious Achiuwa.
If we let's take out Fred and Gary because we've established that they're great shooters, right?
Yes.
Fate of the universe, rest of this Raptors roster. Who are you picking? Corner 3.
Listen, man, I hope we had the Mars colony on. I guess that's part of the universe. Never mind. That's not even going to work. If I had to pick one more guy.
Iguodala.
I wish we had Iguodala, honestly, to take that shot. I probably Svi.
Yeah, no, I would
Yeah.
go with Svi as well.
Yeah.
I would go with Svi as well. But yes,
But
so
the Earth, there's like a 70% chance the universe is done at that point. So.
yeah, might be headed there anyways. But
Okay.
so, like you mentioned though, in terms of the depth, we did get an update on OG Anunoby yesterday. So it's reported he is going to be sidelined for 2 more weeks to rest his fractured finger. That's what the specialist recommended. That he could play now, but if you just give him the 2 weeks rest, he should be fully healed. So we're going to be going the next 2 weeks, especially the Raptors are going on a 6-game road trip after tonight against Orlando without OG for a majority, if not the entire stretch during that road trip.
It's going to be very telling if he goes on this road trip or not. But I think he will, actually.
Yeah. So we've seen Khem Birch struggle in the starting lineup. Thad Young,
off the bench.
Off the bench. I mean, it's been a tough season.
Lineup.
It's been a tough season for Khem. So they're gonna have to figure out the starting lineup for the next 2 weeks. Do you think a change is coming, especially given how well Precious has been playing recently?
I mean, I thought the change would have been coming already. This is something I feel like I've been harping on all week. Which again, I don't mean to. Like, it's really just not like, it's not an agenda thing. It's just like you watch it game after game and like the results aren't there. Yeah, I think I would love it. And I think my pick would actually be Thad Young to go in that starting lineup. That way you can kind of preserve the similarity with the OG role, especially if you can knock down some threes. Obviously it depends on him, being available or not. Obviously hitting the just not being available because of the non-COVID illness is very unfortunate. So you are left without some, matchups here. But I mean, 1 of 5 from the field, 3 rebounds, 3 fouls, -8. The other side, Isaiah Stewart, 10 and 8. I mean, it's not horrible, but even if you just look at the start of the game, like I was something that I pointed out, I was just like, look, first 4 baskets all came against Khem. Khem defended all of them, and they scored all of them. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to see a change, but also really it just comes down to the availability of the roster, right? And I think that, the 2 things for everyone could really see with this team is just that the lack of shooting, especially off the bench, and then the lack of like a true center, quote unquote, right? And whatever, man. I think it's more just like not a true center, but like a clear-cut starting level center, a center who is as good as all the other starters on the Raptors, which the Raptors don't have. But those are the weaknesses, and when you see a lot of these losses, like some of these teams crop up. And we're past the trade deadline, so there's not much solution for it. So it's really just up to Nick to sort of move the pieces around. And I do sympathize with him too, because like, I mean, I know the Pistons are the Pistons, right? Like they're hurting for options, but even the Pistons were bringing guys who can like come in and make and do a job and make plays and stuff like that. Whereas like, I think the Raptors had Precious, who was nice off the bench. I think they have Boucher, and those 2 guys, they like them in their roles. So maybe that's one of the hesitations for Nick to start one of them, is that he likes those guys coming off the bench in the spots that they are. But there weren't a lot of other options, really. Like we saw Nick dust off Svi for 6 minutes, just for 3 minutes, just to sort of space the floor a little bit. Got 2 free throws, made both of those. That was fine. But, I think that's something where Nick has not played Svi for like months now in any sort of first half action. And he brought him in just to sort of try to engineer some spacing. And I think that's the key thing for me, is just so worried about the Raptors shooting. First off, it's painful to watch some of the games. Teams will zone them. Like against Brooklyn, that second game, Brooklyn zoned them for 3 quarters, and the Raptors still only attempted 23 threes. You would think that if they zone you for 3 quarters, you'd be trying to get up a lot of threes to break that zone. Raptors still weren't doing that because they don't have the shooters to do that, right? And so, yeah, it's concerning. And when you point out the 3-point shooting stats, when they lost against Charlotte, first game out of the All-Star break, they made 6 threes, but I have to qualify that with 2 of those were in garbage time,
right,
when they brought in the third stringers. So they had 4 threes over the course of the relevant game. Against Atlanta, they had 9 threes, or they had 10 threes overall, but one of those was in the last minute, again in garbage time. So you're talking about single-digit threes in that one. Brooklyn only 7 threes. Detroit last night only 7 threes. Like, you're just not going to win any games in the NBA like this. Like, it's just so hard. You have to nail everything else. You got to get on the offensive glass. You got to force a ton of turnovers. You got to be really efficient with your 2-point shots. And I think especially when against the zone, for example, like you want them to cut and engineer the little gaps and sort of make extra passes. You can do that to some degree, but like, let's be real. Like, we're not exactly looking at like, the Celtics with like McHale, Parrish, and Bird, like, with their little offense. We're not running the triangle offense over here, So yeah, I'm a basketball historian.
What's going on, man? Shouts to Bob
My
Cousy.
energy's crazy. Right
We
now.
talked to you have ginseng today. We talked about Gary Trent Jr. a little bit, the struggles coming out of the All-Star break. Are you seeing anything different with him? Is he just kind of forcing shots? He's in a different role now. Like, what are you seeing with Gary coming out of this All-Star break so far?
Yeah, I think part of it is he's pressed to create a lot more. Obviously, without Fred in the last few games, like he's had to sort of take on a ball handling responsibility. Last night, the Raptors chose to close the game without any point guards. Right, Malachi he struggled in the third quarter. I thought there were a couple of times where he couldn't really get the Raptors into their offense, and I mean that like two plays where he ran pick and roll with Pascal, got the switch. Pascal's now on a guard. You have to get the ball to Pascal in that situation. Like forget like the flashy playmaking and stuff. Like that's the basics, right? There was one play where the first time he ran it, Pascal got the switch. He swung it out to the opposite wing, and then realized what happened, and then called for the pass back immediately. Like realizing, oh, I made the wrong read here, right? And then the next time down, he just completely didn't see it, which is just like these small things. I'm not saying that's enough to get him benched, but whatever. Like the Raptors wanted to go bigger, they wanted to switch a lot more, right? They weren't really able to put Malachi on the floor for that. They tried Delano. Delano missed a wide open three, like badly missed it, and then had a little driving floater, which he went for a finger roll for some reason instead of trying to get all the way to the basket, and he put the finger roll short. And so when you're looking at a game where you lose by one or two possessions, like I don't blame the coaching staff, whoever was the remnants of it after Nick Nurse left, um, choosing to close without a point guard. But that puts a lot of playmaking onus on Gary Trent. And that's where it's really, really tough for him to sort of adapt to that role. Because before that, it was him coming off of curls, got someone else driving kick it out to Gary. And he had some of those looks too, and he's been missing some of those too. That'll just come around. But there are limits, obviously, to him as a playmaker at the current moment. And we saw some of those limits yesterday. 423 is pretty tough, man.
Yeah. Speaking of the coaching staff, especially after Nick Nurse was ejected in the third quarter, you noticed too, Fred was doing a lot of coaching in the fourth quarter.
A lot of coaching. Yeah, that's right. I mean, at one point, Pascal got fouled in the fourth quarter, and as he was waiting to shoot his free throws, Fred walked over to the scorer's table ahead of Griffin and called Delano over, was in his ear, and sort of just like, I'm not sure what he told him, but probably something about in terms of like a read or something he saw on the floor. But it's the same thing that Nick would do for Fred, or Nick would do for Delano, or Nick would do for Malachi. It was actually really interesting to see that. I mean, we all know that, Fred is a very competitive dude, a leader on this team, the coach on the floor, if you would like to use that. And he was literally the coach on the floor yesterday.
Yeah, I wanted him to squat, but then I realized he's got the right knee soreness. So
I wish he did, though. I really wish he did.
that would have been a great photo op. Oh, by the way, ran into a friend of the program, fellow Asian, Wesley Chen, on the way here.
That's right.
To the studio today. Shouts to Wes.
Kings are good 8.
At the other sports network. I hope he put a lot of money on Pistons plus 8.5 last night. Man.
No, it's the surest way to make money in sports betting is to bet for the Pistons in any matchup with the Raptors, because the Raptors are always given like 8-point favorites. Like, why were the Raptors 8-point favorites yesterday? Like, Fred was out, Thad was out, OG was out.
That's fair.
There's no reason.
I was going to say because of their record, but the rosters did not reflect those records yesterday.
Yeah. And also, like, even if they had those guys available, like the last time the Raptors played the Pistons and they lost in Detroit, the Raptors were like 10.5-point favorites, and they, I think they lost by 15.
Man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, if you
it's tough, but at least we don't play the Pistons anymore, and to my knowledge, guys are healthy.
Yeah, if you took your serve money during the pandemic and just bet on the Pistons every time, last 2 seasons, you would have won all 6 times. I would have been able to pay off my mortgage.
If you're betting with your serve money,
you would have been having a spending spree at SVP, RIP.
Don't bet your serve money
to the downtown location. But yeah, so second segment, we're gonna be. I know you reached out, got some Twitter questions.
That's right.
We also want to let the YouTube stream know that during the break, if you have any questions, we'll be checking in on the stream. So make sure you drop those in there as well, and we'll try to get to as many of them as possible.
Yeah, we will on the other side of this break. So you have been listening to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. I continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. And as we do every Friday, we want to give some shout-outs because the show is not just us. You know, there's a lot of other people who deserve a lot of credit. And we always love to highlight them here on Fridays. So thank you to everyone who made the Raptors Show and the Raptors Reaction Podcast possible this week, including our producer, Derek, JR, Ryan Fabro, Kyle, Maria, DT, Greg Sansoni, Pat Flash, and everyone else supporting us behind the scenes. A thank you to all the guests this week for making the time for us. Shout out to Blake Murphy, Vivek Jacobs, Savannah Hamilton, and Amy Onabert. Alex, you got more shout-outs? You got specialty shout-outs?
Yeah, no.
Why is Jen not on here?
Did I? Oh, I pasted it from the old document.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, that's right. Oh, wow. So that's what it is, huh?
So
Your
a
gratitude
special.
is just
No, this was
pasted?
pre-YouTube days.
Nah,
man.
that's nasty. I'm going to add that in right now.
Shout-outs to Jennifer Rolnick, honestly.
No, special shout-out. I'm going to change the script
for putting up with us and you know, all these last-minute requests and things of that nature. And she's in the chat, too, a lot on YouTube, which we always appreciate. And shouts to Derek, too, man.
Yeah, of course.
You know, this should be the Raptor Show with Will Lou and Derek Brandeo. We should rebrand that. But yeah, no, even Kyle and Maria want to give them special shout out. Kyle with a great graphic this week for our all-time Raptors villains draft. And Maria has been doing so much work, heavy lifting behind the scenes, supporting us as well. By the way, great segments this week from you, Will. The kitchen appliances.
That was this week. My God,
I know,
this is a long week.
I know. It was critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
And I think the draft was great too.
Yeah.
And
okay, look, let's be fair.
Yes.
You were just going to carry that draft out the next day, and I just suggested that we just do it.
No. We're not about taking credit on the show.
Oh, okay, all right.
So it's always teamwork.
What about this? What about this idea?
This idea was all you. Yeah, I'm not involved in this, so if
we're never getting that Nick interview after
if
this.
MLSE is sending an email, please direct it to william.lou@rcirogers.ca.
Why are you reading my email out there, man?
I mean, it's readily available.
You know, it's fine.
But yes, we do want to do more drafts. You know, with the remaining weeks left here in the season, so we're thinking probably in an upcoming week we'll do Raptors cult heroes. I wanted to
reset the vibes a little bit.
Yeah,
because we got to celebrate a lot of people. There's a lot of people in this franchise who may or may not have been actually involved with the franchise, but we should definitely do more of those drafts. I just think it's fun.
You're not drafting the pandemic for that, right? Because
you're drafting the pandemic as a Raptors cult hero.
It got us Scotty Barnes. So
draft Tampa for that.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. And we're gonna do greatest Raptors what ifs. So if people are listening or on the YouTube stream, if you have other draft ideas that you want to suggest for us to do, you know, I'm running out of ideas here as we head towards the end of the season. So help me produce this show.
Oh, okay, all right.
And we'll give you a great shout out. No, but I did want to shout out some people. I was thinking yesterday, you know, us being back at the arena now, and you know, it's no longer an empty arena. But for us media people, like, it's still a little bit different. The access has been different, and we just don't see as many people as I think we used to in like past years. So I just wanted to shout out our security man Zoe.
Not our security man.
Yeah.
The Raptors.
Raptors security man Zoe.
Yeah, you see him all the time. You saw him in the New York Times, I believe. Someone wrote something about this.
Yeah, I think it was at Yahoo.
Was it Yahoo?
Yeah, I want to say. Yeah. Look up Zoe. Alex Wong, Yahoo.
New York Times watched anyway.
Sports. What? And you know, he's always great energy. And wanted to shout out some of these photographers too. You know, Keyshawn Mystery, we don't see him at the arena as much anymore because he's all glowed up and busy doing other things around the city. And Nelson, a.k.a. Nelcam.
When you change the game, the game changes on you.
Okay. So, yeah. And then shout outs to a Twitter user at Raptors Dan, who just hit us up with a screenshot of his setup. He's riding his indoor bike while watching us on Sportsnet 360, and he's got a great Raptors setup there.
I ran into this dude, by the way.
Oh.
At the arena one time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he the one who asked for a photo? Or was he the one? Or was he the one who pulled up this group chat to show you that
that's someone different.
There are photos of Will Lou in the group chat? Okay. Shout out
to
all the Will Lou stands at the arena, man.
Yeah. It's really cool. It really is.
But yeah, so those are the shout outs. I don't know if you have anything else?
No.
Any other shout outs? Okay. Two straight weeks I asked you and you're just like, nah, man.
You know what? Actually, I do have a shout out. Shout out to my dad. It was his birthday yesterday. Somehow I did 2 shows and I didn't shout him out. So salute to my dad.
So we were together at Eaton Center
Yeah.
last weekend.
Yeah.
You said you were going to get your dad something. What did you end up picking up for your dad?
I got him a new, just a fitness tracker. He's been doing a lot of running, and I got him one like 4 years ago, and it serviced him well. But as all things these days with planned obsolescence and all that, so now I gotta get him a new one. But he'll enjoy it. It's from Huawei, Chinese company. He'll love that.
No,
Spoiler alert! Actually, I'm gonna give it to him on the weekend, but whatever. I mean, he's turning 57. I think he's
Damn, he's so young, man.
I know.
20 years younger. Anyways,
Just
okay.
see him on the pitch.
Yeah. Anyways, won't see me on the pitch anytime soon. So on to Twitter questions.
That's
and
right.
We'll also have some YouTube questions that Will might get to as well. So what do we have here? Friday Twitter questions.
That's right. And our first question comes from Ali, who asked 3 questions. And this is a very economical use of one tweet here. So there's 3 parts here. Number 1, what is the ceiling you see on Gary Trent Jr.'s playmaking? I think for me, like the ceiling there is something that he still needs to continue to explore. Like I think that he clearly has the shooting ability. He has the scoring ability in terms of like, he can get his shot off, right? But I think it's also making the right reads, knowing when to sort of lay off the passes, like reading where that help comes from. And you'll see him a lot shooting against the second layer of the defense. But, that option also has to be there for him to sort of, find the extra pass. And he's done that occasionally here in the last couple of games where he's been thrust into a bigger playmaking role. But I still want to see him do that more often. But the thing that affects him maybe more than other players is just that he doesn't get to the rim and like explode there the way a lot of other guards can, or that quickness to sort of get to the rim first. And so, that might limit the playmaking just a little bit. We see a lot of times where Gary's driving, and I mean, the last play of the game, he tried to drive. The paint was cluttered, whatever, right? But he tried to make a play at the rim, and Cade Cunningham got up and swatted him and pinned it off the glass. So I think that's where he probably needs to sort of affect the rim a little bit more to help with the playmaking. But there is something to be explored there. Like, I don't think he's like even at half the potential that he's at in terms of as a playmaker. Because if you could score like that, like, passing's gonna come real easy to a true hooper like this. Another question: do you think Precious' recent growth in 3-point percentage is sustainable? Is there a chance he becomes a floor spacer in the long term, as good as Miles Turner? I'm not totally sure about as good as Miles Turner, but I do think that Precious should keep working on that shot. I think ultimately his future in this league is not necessarily as a center, but more as like a 4. To me, I mean, I think he can guard across the board, but I think that his skill set, especially with his ability to attack from the perimeter, I think that's probably the times I'm most impressed by Precious, is when he's using his handle, using his strength with some momentum behind him, and then getting to the basket. I think that's something that's he can sort of continue to work on, and that's contingent on him being able to shoot the 3 well enough that people close out on him. Right now, people leave him, and he's taking the right threes, as we saw in the fourth quarter, knocking down the corner 3. But it's something he's working on, and even just, again, I feel like this is like a running gag. I just always talk about warm-ups, but when you watch warm-ups and stuff, he's not any worse of a shooter than Scottie, for example. And I think Scottie has a green light to shoot the 3 from Nick, so I think Precious should get the same. And then is Tampa Khem Birch going to come back? I don't know. I think it's really just like he needs an offseason to fully get healthy, because right now we're seeing like a very limited version of him. And yeah, I would like to see less of that limited version.
I think Precious too, especially the way he's played the last couple months. Like, he's been a great development story for the Raptors as well. And I think a lot of the focus sometimes is on the rookies, especially Scottie. But you look at, and I know you talked about this with Amy Audibert yesterday as well, like Precious has such a limited role when he was in Miami, right? And I think he's been able to expand his game so much here. And I'm getting more and more excited about kind of where he's going to fit to long-term with this core group. So what's next?
Next question we have on the Rookie of the Year race from Go Get It 4. Do you see Scottie surpassing Evan Mobley in the Rookie of the Year race, or do you think that the Cavs rook has the award locked down? What would happen? What would have to happen for Scottie to pass him? I don't think he has a lockdown just yet, mostly because of the fact that like the rookie class is just so good. But I do believe that like he has a very firm lead right now, and I'm talking about Mobley, and most of that is because of the fact that A, he's been really good defensively, and B, the Cavs have just been way ahead of the Raptors in the standings for most of the year. Now, the Cavs ran into some injury issues. I mean, they've had injury issues all throughout the season, which has sort of made this sort of run by them even more impressive when they lose guys like Colin Sexton early in the year. But, they've had a couple more injuries here. Garland missed a couple games or whatever. And so, they started dropping a couple more games. I think, number one, for Scottie to pass him, needs to be ahead of him in the standings. That has to be the portion. The other part is says Evan Mobley's defensive stats are way better than Scotty's defensive stats. And I think that there's got to be something there where the Raptors have to, probably Scotty has to overcompensate for that gap by scoring a lot more, being a lot more efficient. I mean, he does have the lead in him in terms of assists, and I think scoring, he's mostly been ahead of Mobley, but I think that's the two things. He needs to, really have a gap there. And the way Scotty's scoring right now, I think is really encouraging. Like if he can, what's he averaging, like 18 since the break, maybe even more?
Yeah, he's basically been a 2010 player.
Yeah.
In the post All-Star break.
Yeah, so just if he could be a 2010 player for the rest of the season, I think Scotty can take it at the end here. But I think there's also the other thing where, in terms of like what people are biased towards, it's like the heuristics in terms of like when you look at the whole season, people are more prone to over-evaluating the start of the season and the very end of the season. Things in between, people don't remember as much, right? And I think Scotty started the season really well, but Mobley started the season really well. The Cavs were the surprise of the season. And so I think there's a chance at the end here for, the Raptors are going to be in that play-in mix, and maybe they can get out of that play-in mix. And, who knows, maybe Cleveland drops a little bit, although I doubt it. But that's where the Raptors need to make that push as a team as well for Scotty. But, he's right there. He's right there. And it's not one of those awards I care the most about, quite honestly. Like, I'm not going to look game to game and see what people's stat logs are, especially for these young guys. They're just trying to find their way in the league. But also, Scotty himself has said that that's one of his stated goals on the season. So I do want that for him as well. But I think if you would ask most voters right now, they would go with Mobley. And let's also not be naive about this. People in the States generally don't care about what happens in Toronto.
Right.
Especially in an NBA sense. So even though it's happening in Cleveland, like I think people know Mobley a lot more than they know Scotty. And that's just unfortunate. But, let's not be naive about that.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, too, I think David Thorpe said this one of the times that he was on the show, is like, let's not worry too much about the Rookie of the Year discussion. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a good discussion for fans to have, and it's fun to follow. But, the fact that we have what looks like a superstar player, in Scotty, at least he's got that potential. I think that's what we got to focus on. But, yes, I'm with you. Big matchup on Sunday. Cleveland's going to play Toronto. It won't be a Tremont Waters game. Man, that game might end up deciding whether the Raptors make the play-in. But anyways.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you're right.
Anyways, so like games like that, like featured games, and if Scotty keeps averaging 20 and 10, I think he definitely has a really good chance.
That's right. Let's get to our next question. Also on Twitter, we got it from Eric. Asked, how do you think the lack of shooting is going to be when it comes time for the playoffs? Teams play zone on them and dare anyone but Fred or Gary Trent to make the shots. OG, Siakam, Boucher, etc. are streakier shooters, while OG's finger will bother him for at least a while. So the where I disagree with this is actually I think if OG comes back from the finger injury, which they're going to give him the time to rest, no reason for him not to, I think OG's more than a streaky shooter. I think OG is a knockdown three-point shooter, not like a movement shooter, like mostly set feet and stuff like that, not like a self-creation, like step-back kind of shooter. But, like, when we're looking at open shots, kick out to OG or whatever, like, I'm very confident in that. That's not a streaky shot to me. Like, I don't think that's fair to put OG in a case with Siakam and Boucher. It's totally different. There's a level to that. Now, I don't think he's on the level of Gary and Fred. Those are guys who can shoot it on the move and also pull up as well. But I don't think OG's especially when he's healthy, is a streaky shooter. Other than that, though, yeah, I think it's going to be a real problem. Like, I think that teams will probably zone the Raptors for 3 quarters in the playoffs, maybe the start of the game onward. They'll definitely zone them with the way the bench is structured right now. And then you're going to really need to be solid defensively on your own part. And also just like, even if you run into issues with your offense where you're not able to consistently get good shots against the zone, not tilt your game so much where you ruin your floor balance and it compromises your defense and the other team's able to score in transition. So I expect, as always, when you watch the Raptors in the playoffs, some very grimy results. Very grimy, especially without the shooting to sort of back it up. I think the more size on the other team, this goes without saying, this is just a general statement, but it especially affects a team like the Raptors, where the more size the other team has on the interior to throw at Pascal, to throw at these other guys, like, it's going to be really, really, really tough to see the Raptors get some offense going, but this is the team. I don't know what else to say. The team is the team. Like, the roster is fixed, and yeah, obviously when they go to the offseason, they can try to acquire more shooting, but at the moment, there's just not a lot to rely on.
Yeah, whatever issues that we are very aware of now, like, they're just going to be magnified a bit.
Yes,
in the playoffs. We've talked about this.
All right, let's go through more questions because I want to get to the YouTube chat questions at the end. And I know, Have you been collecting those or no?
Yeah.
You have? Okay, cool.
They're in there for you.
All right, let's go to the next one from Ronald Lowe, which is one letter away from my dad's English name.
This guy's almost revealed his entire family's government name.
Yeah.
I still don't know your mom's name. That's
my dad does not wear glasses like this Ronald does. But anyway, if Malachi Flynn were a sub, what kind would he be? I feel like he would be the meatball marinara. Could surprise you with the quality, but I don't think it's anyone's go-to. So, Alex, I think I put this question in here because I think this is in your wheelhouse. First off, can I ask you, is a hot dog a sub?
Oh.
Since you're a hot dog specialist, you're a hot dog merchant.
Yeah, you know what? I do think hot dog is a sub.
How is it not a sub?
Because you're putting ingredients, into the bun.
It's longer than it is wide.
Yeah, I was so excited. I had a pre-arena hot dog yesterday. I didn't even wait for the arena.
Yeah, where?
Just like a street dog, by Eaton Center.
Yeah. Why are you by Eaton Center?
I was at Uniqlo, just checking out the new.
The new heat tech.
The new spring-summer 2022 collection.
Oh, Lord.
Uniqlo, please come through with a sponsorship.
We're begging
from
on
me.
this one, man.
Yeah, I'm not a sub expert, but yeah, meatball marinara.
That's actually my favorite sub out of all of them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like just the basic, the cold cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, the meatball's nice once in a while.
So, yeah, what's Malachi as a sub? Malachi's a...
Are we going to do a whole segment next week of...
Malachi's a tuna sub. It's the one that people just, go somewhere else in that restaurant for that day. They're like, it might only cost $5 for a unit length of submarine sandwich, but not today for me.
All right, Malachi Flynn confirmed.
No, I mean for Nick at least, because we even saw in the fourth quarter there, even though he played better than offensively, he played better than even Gary, for example.
Yeah.
He did not get a chance to play in that fourth quarter.
No. By the way, I thought that was a mistake. At the end of the game, when you need a three, you have to substitute in your 3-point shooters. Come on. They came out with the same lineup. I'm not even saying you drop the play for Svi, but you got to keep Svi in there just to at least pretend like he's going to shoot. Yeah, instead of going for a 2 when you're down 3.
Yeah.
Anyways, by the way, I just want to point out before you get to the next question,
Okay.
Someone in the YouTube chat did ask whether your post-game reaction show is only listenable live when it's on Sportsnet 590. So for the listener, for the person watching on YouTube, download the Raptors Show with Will Liu. Download the podcast, get the podcast feed. All the reaction podcast episodes, if they're not live, are all uploaded to the feed. So if you want to check out the reaction podcast, that's usually there after an hour after the game or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Look, there's a lot of programming on this station, a lot of great programming. We have Leafs rights as well, so Leafs post game show. Some of these things are gonna overlap, but again, in all the games that it's not live, it'll be on a podcast later. So, if you don't see the tweet for it from me, then it's not live.
Yeah. But
it's always there, though.
Get the podcast feed. You'll get all the episodes.
Yeah, and then rate, review, and subscribe.
Yes, rate, review, subscribe, please.
That's
all
right.
What's
all
next?
Right. Next question is on Knicks rotations, and it comes from Natty, who asks, for the majority of the season, I noticed some parts of Raptors Twitter hate Nick Nurse's rotations. How would you evaluate Nick's rotations for the year? I hate's a strong word. I think people have things to pick at in terms of the rotation, like anyone does. It's one of the easiest things to sort of pick at. Who's in with who's out there for how long, who's out there at specific times. These are just regular sports debates. I don't think people hate the rotations. I think people are in favor of the starting lineup, right? And I think that it's really just been an issue of which guys to bring off the bench. I think it's always easier after losses to say, well, maybe this guy could have played more, this guy could have played more, that Monday morning cornerback thing. But I think for me, there's just things that he will get right or get wrong, or even necessarily that I don't think work well or work great. But these are just part of the general sports conversations for me right now. I want to see someone other than Kem in the starting lineup. But other than that, I actually don't have many issues with his rotation currently.
Yeah, I'll give Nick some credit. I know we put the DC on his hat earlier and all this, but
it's just lying on the floor right now, man. I'm sorry. You're gonna wear that later, by the way, right?
Nick has always consistently played his best players in the starting lineup, and sometimes I think, especially in the past 2 seasons, it's been tough for him because he just doesn't have enough good players on the roster, and that's why these conversations come up, because he does have to mix and match. And even during games sometimes, if certain players aren't bringing it in terms of the energy level and things like that, he's had to go deep into his bench and try to find the right combinations and search for these 5-man rosters that can help them come back from these double-digit deficits in the second half. So, like you said, I think everybody, if you're watching an NBA team through an 82-game schedule, you're going to have issues with the rotations. But Nick is doing the best, in my opinion, with what he's been given.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't really say that given the talent on this specific Raptors team that Nick's not getting the most out of it. I genuinely don't think that's possible.
People would be shocked looking at the Raptors and seeing that they have this record, I think. If you look at the roster.
Yeah.
Like, I think they've definitely overachieved. Now, that's come at the expense of playing the starters a lot of minutes. We see Fred is out now and all that stuff. But Fred will be back. And, like, Nick is always searching for the combinations that can get him a win on any given night. So, yeah, I don't really have an issue with his rotations.
Also, the players like Nick, the players get he's able to draw a reaction from the players. Like, this is what it is. I think they're also a young group. They make some young mistakes, as they always do. All right, last Twitter question we have comes from Kate, at KB Doll. How many more years of the Casey curse will remain? So Dwayne Casey signed an extension at the end of last season that is going to see him continue as head coach of the Pistons through 2024, so 2 more years.
Yeah, so 2024.
After that, I don't know, to be honest. Casey's still, like, even though he looks great, he's low-key old, so, like, I'm not sure how much longer he will want to continue coaching. And after that, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, I'm not sure. But in any case, yeah, at least 2 more years. I don't think the Pistons are going to let Casey go.
Yeah,
I think he's, like, done well for their program in terms of as a guy to develop and also eat some losses.
Just don't get swept next year. Just win one.
It's going to happen, man.
Don't get swept.
It's going to happen.
Okay, 2 more years.
All right, you got some YouTube questions?
Yes, YouTube questions. First one, do you think we will be able to avoid the play-in tournament?
It's possible. What they really needed to do was take care of some of these quote-unquote easy games coming out of the break. Charlotte, Atlanta, those are teams that just beat 2 Brooklyn games. They did take care of business, obviously against a Brooklyn team that did not have KD or anybody really available. And then you had these 2 games, or this game against the Pistons and also tonight against the Magic. Like, you just need to, like, take care of this stretch. Because there will be some tougher games, but this was supposed to be the soft part. And the Raptors so far are 2-3.
Yep. So,
but it's doable, though. They're only, 2 games back of Cleveland in 6?
It's doable. They just got to string together some wins. And I think, with the 6-game road trip, I think will really let us know whether we're just looking to the play-in tournament or trying to move to the top 6. Someone on YouTube was at the game last night and said he witnessed another night of us fans gathering to show our disdain for all the ref calls. You're the expert on this, so I got to ask you this. How much of an effect do you think ref you suck chants actually have in a game?
Not that much. I'm not going to lie to you. I really don't think so. I think the refs probably feel pressure all the time. I think they're probably more pressured from the players and the coaches who are probably in an actual position to complain about them, to draw the spotlight to them. It's pretty normal. These guys get chanted at all the time. So I think the real change in how the game was officiated came after Nick got his ejection, and that put the pressure on the officials more than anything else. But it's great. It's great to be in that atmosphere, and everyone from the 100 level, the 200 level, the 300 level. I heard some reports of the 600 level. We're not happy with them too. So yeah.
Yeah, you had a clone at the 600 level.
Hey, man, listen.
Last night. It brought the same energy level as you. All right, we've got like a minute left. Let's do this last one.
Yeah.
Quick pick for you, all-time best and worst Raptors uniforms.
All-time best Raptors uniforms. It's got to be the championship-winning Raptor form, kind of the candy cane thing, but it just looks so good with the can on the theme. The worst Raptors uniforms for me are the camo jerseys.
Yes, camo jerseys are just bad in general.
This is terrible, man.
No more camos.
Yeah.
All-time best for me, got to go with the OG
I'm
Raptors.
celebrating war either.
Dino uniforms, and slept on one was the green St. Patty's Day one.
Yeah,
I really like the green Raptors jersey. I feel like it's a forgotten jersey in Raptors history.
It's slept on in the sense that you can wear it to sleep in the summertime and stay cool, but I wouldn't really wear that in public. Are you talking about the green? Nah.
I love the green, man. Real Sports, let me know if you're going to reissue that one.
No, you're going to have to buy the one that's available for auction.
So the Raptors going to beat Orlando tonight?
Yeah, I think they'll take care of business.
And then take care of business in Cleveland? Let's get a 2.
I hope so.
Nobody's
I
sure.
hope Fred's back.
Nobody's ever sure which Raptors team is going to show up.
Who knows with this team? But that's why this show exists, to break it all down. So that does it for us today. I'm your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe. Please rate and review our show. Reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. Thanks again to my producer and co-host, Alex Wong, to our board producer, Derek Brandale, and Jennifer Rolnick for helping us behind the scenes with the YouTube stream. I will talk to you soon.